The freighter docked at station with a soft clunk that Danny Cole felt through the metal floor beneath his boots. He stretched his arms above his head and yawned. They had been flying for 3 weeks straight, hauling machine parts across 4 systems, and he was ready for solid ground under his feet, even if that ground was a spinning medical station in the middle of nowhere. Laura, his wife and co-pilot, appeared in the doorway of the cockpit. She had her hair tied back and a tired smile on her face. "Docking complete. They want us in medical within the hour for screening." Danny groaned. "I hate these checkups, they always take forever." "Collective rules," Laura said with a shrug. "No screening, no entry into their space. No entry, no delivery. No delivery, no payment." "Fine," Danny muttered as he grabbed his jacket. "Let's get this over with." The station was clean and bright, with white walls and soft blue lighting that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved through the corridors. Danny saw creatures with too many legs, creatures with no legs at all, and one being that looked like a floating cloud of purple gas. He had been hauling cargo through the galaxy for 8 years now, so none of this surprised him anymore. The medical wing was at the center of the station. When Danny and Laura arrived, a tall alien with 4 arms and pale blue skin greeted them at the entrance. The alien's name tag read, and their species was listed as. "Welcome to station," said in a musical voice. "Please follow me for your standard health screening. This will only take a few minutes." They were led to a room filled with machines that hummed and blinked with dozens of lights. In the center of the room stood a large console where a medical AI ran all the tests. The AI had no physical form, just a screen and a pleasant voice that spoke in perfect English. "Please place your hand on the scanner," the AI said. Laura went first. She pressed her palm against a glowing pad, and the machine hummed for about 10 seconds. The screen displayed her results with a cheerful green color. "Laura, human female, all readings normal. You are cleared for entry into collective space." Laura stepped back and nodded at Danny. "Your turn." Danny placed his hand on the scanner. The machine hummed just like before, but this time it kept humming and humming. The green light on the screen flickered to yellow, then to orange, then to a deep and angry red. Leaned forward with concern on their blue face. "That is unusual." The AI's voice came again, but this time it sounded different, almost confused. "Scanning, analyzing, error detected, reanalyzing." "What's wrong?" Danny asked. He tried to pull his hand away, but a soft force field held it in place. "Please remain still," the AI said. "Blood toxicity levels are being analyzed." Laura stepped closer to the console. "Toxicity? What are you talking about? He's perfectly healthy." The screen began to fill with data. Lists of chemical compounds scrolled past faster than Danny could read. He caught a few words here and there. Caffeine, capsaicin, ethanol, theobromine. The list went on and on. His 4 hands began to tremble. "These compounds, they are all classified as dangerous toxins in our database." The AI spoke again. "Over 40 potentially lethal compounds detected in subjects' bloodstream, cross-referencing with known venomous species." The screen flickered as thousands of species profiles flashed past. "No match found. No match found. No match found." Danny felt a cold knot forming in his stomach. "Hey, I don't know what's happening here, but I feel fine. I've felt fine my whole life." "Initiating quarantine protocol," the AI announced. Red lights began to flash along the walls. "Subject displays biological markers consistent with apex predator classification. Species unknown. Recommend extreme caution." 2 security guards appeared at the door. They were large creatures covered in brown fur, and they carried weapons that glowed with blue energy. They looked at Danny like he was a bomb about to explode. "This is insane," Laura said. Her voice was rising with anger. "He's my husband. We've been married for 6 years. He's not dangerous." "Ma'am, please step away from the subject. one of the guards said. The subject, he has a name. Danny held up his hand slowly. Laura, it's okay. Let's just stay calm and figure this out. He looked at. There has to be some mistake. I'm just a regular human. I eat regular food. I drink regular drinks. There's nothing special about me. Was staring at the screen with wide eyes. The AI is trying to identify your species by matching your blood chemistry to known venomous creatures. It believes you may be carrying biological weapons inside your body. Biological weapons, Danny almost laughed. I had coffee this morning, that's it, coffee and toast. The AI interrupted. Caffeine is a neurotoxin lethal to 63% of known species. Subject consumed this voluntarily. Danny blinked. Coffee is poison. To us, yes, whispered. Very much yes. The guards moved forward and gestured for Danny to follow them. He went without resisting, though his mind was spinning with confusion. They led him down a long corridor to a section of the station he had never seen before. The walls here were thicker, and the doors had heavy locks on them. They stopped at a room with a large window made of reinforced glass. Inside was a simple bed, a chair, and nothing else. It looked like a cell. You will remain here until we understand what you are, one of the guards said. Danny stepped inside. The door sealed behind him with a heavy sound. Through the glass, he could see Laura arguing within the corridor. She was pointing at him and shaking her head, just kept looking at their tablet with a frightened expression. Danny sat down on the bed and stared at his hands. These same hands that had held coffee cups and beer bottles and slices of pizza covered in hot sauce. He had never thought twice about any of it. But now, he wondered what else was hiding in his blood that he did not know about. Outside the glass, a crowd was beginning to form. Aliens of different species gathered to stare at him. Some of them looked scared. Others looked curious. A few looked at him the same way Danny might look at a caged tiger. The AI's voice came through a speaker in the ceiling. Analysis continuing. Preliminary classification suggests subject may be one of the most chemically dangerous organisms in known space, awaiting further data. Danny lay back on the bed and closed his eyes. All he had wanted was to drop off some machine parts and maybe get a decent meal. Now the whole station thought he was a monster. And the worst part was that he was starting to wonder if they might be right. Danny had been in the isolation room for 4 hours when the crowd outside his window grew even larger. Word had spread through the station about the strange creature in quarantine. The creature that looked harmless but carried enough poison in its blood to kill half the species on board. He watched them watching him. A group of small green beings with antennae pressed their faces against the glass. A tall creature made of what looked like living crystal kept its distance but could not look away. Even the station's cleaning robots seemed to slow down when they passed his cell. Laura finally pushed through the crowd with close behind her. She pressed her hand against the glass, and Danny stood up to meet her on his side. "I'm working on getting you out," she said through the intercom. "This is all just a misunderstanding." "Any luck?" Danny asked. "Not yet. They want to run more tests first, but I called for help. There's a human diplomat named Senna Marsh at a station 2 systems over. She's on her way." Before Danny could respond, the door at the end of the corridor opened. A new alien walked in, and the crowd parted to let them through. This one was short and covered in fur. It had 6 eyes arranged in a circle around its head, and it walked with a slow and careful step. It carried a tablet in one hand and a bag of equipment in the other. "I am Dr. Pell," the alien said. I have studied over 300 species in my career." All 6 of its eyes focused on Danny through the glass. "I have never seen readings like yours." "I keep telling everyone," Danny said. "I'm just a normal human." "That is precisely what concerns me." Dr. Pell turned to, "Open a communication channel. I want to interview the subject." The intercom clicked on, and Dr. Pell began asking questions. What did Danny eat for breakfast? What did he drink? Had he consumed any unusual substances in the past week? Danny answered honestly. Coffee in the morning, toast with butter. For lunch, he had eaten noodles with hot sauce because Laura had bought some at their last stop. The night before, he had shared a beer with Laura while they played cards. Dr. Pell's fur began to stand on end as Danny spoke. He looked at his tablet with growing alarm. You say you ate something called hot sauce. Can you describe it? It's a liquid made from peppers. It makes food taste spicy. Lots of humans like it. Spicy, Dr. Pell repeated. You mean it causes a burning sensation? Yeah, but in a good way. It adds flavor. Dr. Pell turned to the crowd behind him. The compound that creates this burning sensation is called capsaicin. In most species, it causes severe pain, tissue damage, and in high doses, death. This human consumes it for pleasure. A murmur of fear rippled through the watching aliens. And the coffee, Dr. Pell continued. How often do you drink it? Every morning, sometimes twice a day if I'm tired. Caffeine is a powerful neurotoxin. It would stop my heart in minutes. Dr. Pell's 6 eyes blinked one at a time. You drink it to help you wake up. Danny shrugged. Doesn't everyone, I mean all the humans I know, do? He shook his head slowly. I have studied predators from death worlds, creatures that evolved in the most hostile environments in the galaxy, but I have never encountered a species that willingly poisons itself as part of its daily routine. Laura spoke up from beside the glass. You're making him sound like a monster. He's the kindest person I know. He cries at sad movies. He sends birthday cards to his mother every year. I do not doubt his character, Dr. Pell said, but you must understand what we are seeing. His blood contains compounds that match the venom of apex predators from dozens of different worlds, yet he produces them naturally or consumes them by choice. From our perspective, your husband is one of the most dangerous organisms we have ever encountered. Danny pressed his hand against the glass. But I would never hurt anyone. I didn't even know any of this until today. That is what makes it so frightening, Dr. Pell said softly. You are a weapon that does not know it is a weapon. The crowd began to disperse after that, but Danny noticed something strange. The aliens did not just leave. They fled. They hurried away with quick steps and nervous glances over their shoulders. And when Laura tried to walk back to their ship to get some of Danny's belongings, the other aliens in the corridor pressed themselves against the walls to let her pass. She was not in quarantine. She had passed the medical scan, but now they were afraid of her too, simply because she was human. Dr. Pell stayed behind to run more tests. He asked Danny to provide samples of blood, saliva, and sweat. Danny agreed, hoping it would help clear up the confusion. Small robots carried the samples away to the station's laboratory. Hours passed. Danny tried to sleep but could not. He kept thinking about all the things he had eaten and drunk throughout his life without ever questioning them. Chocolate, alcohol, garlic, onions, all of them were apparently toxic to most of the galaxy. Finally, Dr. Pell returned. His fur was flat against his body now, a sign that he was deeply troubled. I have completed my analysis, he said. I wanted to tell you before I inform the station commander. How bad is it? Danny asked. Your biological fluids are lethal to approximately 62% of known species. Your saliva alone contains enzymes that would cause severe allergic reactions in most aliens. Your sweat carries trace amounts of compounds that several species use as chemical weapons. Danny sat down heavily on the bed. I had no idea. None of your species did, it seems. Humans have been traveling through our space for decades, and no one thought to run these tests until now. Dr. Pell paused. I must ask you something, and I need you to answer honestly. Go ahead. If someone were to bite you, what would happen to them? Danny thought about it. Nothing would happen to me. Human skin is pretty tough, but to them, he looked at Dr. Pell's worried eyes. I honestly don't know. I never thought about it before. Dr. Pell nodded slowly. I believe we are about to find out. The station commander is coming and she is not happy. Commander arrived at the isolation wing with 4 armed guards behind her. She was tall and thin, with green skin and long limbs that bent at strange angles. Her head was triangular, and her large black eyes showed no warmth as she studied Danny through the glass. "So this is the human," she said. Her voice was sharp and cold. "The one whose blood could poison half my station." "Commander," Laura said, stepping forward, "please listen to me. My husband has done nothing wrong. He didn't know about any of this." "Ignorance does not make him less dangerous." Commander turned to Dr. Pell. "What are your findings?" Dr. Pell held up his tablet. Human biological fluids contain compounds lethal to 62% of known species. Their blood, saliva, and sweat all carry toxic elements. Even their tears contain trace amounts of salt and enzymes that could harm sensitive species. And they have been living among us for how long? Approximately 40 years since first contact. Commander's eyes narrowed. 40 years, and no one thought to test them until now. The door at the end of the corridor opened again. A human woman walked in with confident steps. She had brown skin and short black hair, and she wore the formal uniform of a galactic diplomat. A badge on her chest identified her as Senna Marsh of the Human Diplomatic Corps. "I came as fast as I could," Senna said. She looked at Danny through the glass and gave him a small nod. "I'm here to help." Commander did not seem pleased by this arrival. "Another human. Wonderful. Should I quarantine you as well?" "That won't be necessary," Senna said calmly. "I've read Dr. Pell's preliminary report on my way here. I understand your concerns, and I'm here to provide context." "Context?" The commander's voice rose. "You want to give me context for why your species has been walking through our stations and ships while carrying enough poison to kill thousands?" Senna did not flinch. "Because we didn't know, and more importantly because we never intended to harm anyone." She pulled out her own tablet and began displaying information. "Let me explain something about Earth, our home world." The screen showed images of Danny's planet, green forests, blue oceans, beautiful mountains, but also volcanoes, hurricanes, and creatures with sharp teeth. "Earth is what your scientists call a Category 4 death world," Senna continued. "The gravity is high, the weather is violent, and the ecosystem is filled with predators, parasites, and toxic plants. Humans evolved in this environment. We developed resistance to compounds that would kill other species because we had no choice. It was adapt or die." Dr. Pell leaned forward with interest. "So the toxins in your blood are a survival mechanism?" "Exactly. Caffeine comes from plants that produce it to kill insects. Capsaicin comes from peppers that use it to stop animals from eating them. Alcohol is a byproduct of fermentation that kills most microorganisms. Humans learned to consume these things because they gave us advantages. Caffeine keeps us alert. Capsaicin has health benefits. Alcohol helps preserve food and water." "You built resistance to poison," Commander said slowly, "and then you started eating it for fun." Senna smiled. "That's one way to put it." A new voice came from the crowd. "She speaks the truth." Everyone turned to see a massive alien pushing through the gathered onlookers. He was reptilian, with dark green scales and yellow eyes. His body was covered in old scars, and he wore the clothes of a merchant trader. Danny recognized the species from his cargo runs. This was one of the toughest species in the galaxy. "I am," the reptile said. "I have traded with humans for 15 years. I learned early to never share food with them." Commander looked at him. "Explain." "On my third trading mission with a human crew, we celebrated a successful deal by sharing a meal. They offered me something they called chocolate. I thought it would be rude to refuse." Touched a scar on his neck. "I spent 2 weeks in a medical facility. My throat swelled shut. My heart's nearly stopped. The doctors said I was lucky to survive. And yet you still trade with them? Dr. Pell asked. Of course, they are honest partners, they pay on time, they keep their word, shrugged his massive shoulders. I simply do not eat with them anymore. Commander was quiet for a long moment. She looked at Danny in his cell, at Laura standing faithfully by the glass, at Senna with her diplomatic uniform, and at with his scars and his practical attitude. What do you propose we do? The commander finally asked. I cannot simply release a biological hazard onto my station. He's not a hazard, Laura said. He's a person. He is both, Dr. Pell said gently. That is the problem. Before anyone could respond, an alarm began to sound. Red lights flashed along the corridor. A mechanical voice echoed through the speakers. Alert! Security breach in Cargo Bay 7. Hostile forces detected. All civilians report to safe zones immediately. Commander's eyes went wide. What now? A security officer ran up to her with a tablet showing live footage. Danny could see it through the glass. The cargo bay was filled with aliens he did not recognize. They were thin and pale, with long limbs and mouths full of sharp teeth. They moved fast, grabbing aliens and pinning them to the ground. Syndicate, the security officer said. Pirates. They breached through the maintenance tunnels. They've already taken hostages, including a group of children from the school wing. Commander turned pale. How many hostiles? 15 confirmed, maybe more. The use venom, Dr. Pell said quietly. Their bite paralyzes victims within seconds. Most species cannot resist it. Danny stood up and walked to the glass. Most species, he repeated. He looked at Dr. Pell. But not all species, right? They understood immediately. Your resistance to toxins. You think it would protect you from venom. Only one way to find out. Danny pressed his palm against the glass. Let me out, let me help. Commander stared at him. You want to fight pirates? I want to save those kids. And if my blood is as dangerous as you say it is, then maybe it's time to put it to good use. The isolation cell door opened with a hiss, and Danny stepped out for the first time in hours. The aliens in the corridor moved back, pressing against the walls to keep their distance from him. But now their fear seemed mixed with something else. Hope, maybe, or curiosity. Commander led the group toward the cargo bay at a quick pace. Security footage showed the situation on screens along the walls. The pirates had gathered their hostages in the center of the bay. 12 adults and 6 children, all different species, all terrified. The pirates moved around them with predatory grace, their long teeth visible even on the grainy footage. They are efficient, Dr. Pell explained as they walked. One bite delivers enough venom to paralyze a full-grown for 3 hours. Victims remain conscious but cannot move or speak. It is a cruel method. What's the plan? Laura asked. She had refused to stay behind and walked beside Danny with determination in her eyes. There is no plan, Commander admitted. Any attempt to breach the cargo bay will result in the hostages being bitten. My security teams cannot move fast enough to stop them. But I can walk right in, Danny said. That is insane, the commander replied. You will be bitten immediately. That's what I'm counting on. Danny looked at Dr. Pell. You said human blood is toxic to most species. Does that include the pulled up data on his tablet and scanned through it quickly. They have similar biology to many species in the galaxy. If your blood enters their system, it should cause severe reactions, possibly fatal ones. Should, Commander repeated. You want to risk your life on should. Those are kids in there, Danny said simply. I'm not going to stand here and do nothing while they get hurt. They reached the corridor outside Cargo Bay 7. Through the reinforced doors, they could hear the talking to each other in their sharp, clicking language. The hostages were silent, either too scared to speak or already paralyzed. Senna stepped forward. Let me negotiate first. Maybe we can talk them down. The do not negotiate said. The large reptile had followed the group, unable to stay away from the action. They take what they want and leave when they are satisfied. Talking will only give them more time. Danny took a deep breath, opened the door. Wait, Laura grabbed his arm. If this doesn't work, if you get paralyzed in there, I'll never forgive you. It's going to work, Danny kissed her forehead. Trust me. I've trusted you for 6 years. Don't make me regret it now. Commander gave the order and the cargo bay doors slid open. Danny walked through alone, his hands raised above his head. The doors closed behind him. The cargo bay was large and filled with shipping containers stacked in neat rows. In the center, the hostages sat huddled together. A young child was crying silently, her 4 small arms wrapped around her knees. An elderly alien with fur, possibly a relative of Dr. Pell, had already been paralyzed and lay stiff on the floor. The leader noticed Danny immediately. She was taller than the others, with darker skin and eyes that gleamed with cruel intelligence. She walked toward him with smooth, liquid movements. "A human," she said. Her voice was like gravel scraping against metal. "How brave or how stupid?" "I'm here to ask you to let these people go," Danny said. He kept his voice calm even though his heart was pounding. The leader laughed. It was an ugly sound. "Ask. You walk into my territory with empty hands and ask." She gestured to 2 of her soldiers. "Teach this creature what we do to those who waste our time." 2 rushed forward. They moved faster than Danny expected, crossing the distance in seconds. He didn't try to run. He stood still as they grabbed his arms and sank their teeth into his shoulders. The pain was sharp but brief. Danny felt a tingling sensation spread through his muscles, like pins and needles after sitting too long. But that was all. His legs stayed strong. His arms still moved. He remained standing while the 2 stepped back and waited for him to fall. He didn't fall. The leader's eyes widened. "What is this? Bite him again." A third lunged at Danny and bit his forearm. The tingling increased slightly, but Danny just looked down at the wound and then back at the pirates. "Is that all you've got?" Then something unexpected happened. The first 2 who had bitten him began to shake. Their pale skin turned an unhealthy shade of. They stumbled backward, clutching their throats, making choking sounds. One of them collapsed to the floor, convulsing violently. The other fell against a shipping container and slid down, too weak to stand. The third, the one who had bitten Danny's arm, stared at her companions in horror. Then she looked at the blood on her teeth, Danny's blood, and her eyes went wide with terror. Seconds later, she too began to convulse. "What did you do?" the leader screamed. "What poison is this?" Danny wiped the blood from his arm and looked at the remaining 12 pirates. They were backing away now, their confidence shattered. He took a step toward them, and they took 2 steps back. "I didn't do anything," Danny said. "This is just what I am. This is what humans are. We come from a world where everything is trying to kill us, so we became poison ourselves. We didn't even know it until today." The leader pulled out a weapon, some kind of blade that crackled with energy. "Stay back, I will cut you down." "You could try," Danny said. "But even if you kill me, my blood will still be on your blade, on your hands, and apparently that's enough." He took another step forward. "So here's what's going to happen. You're going to release these hostages. You're going to go back to your ship, and you're going to leave this station and never come back." "And if we refuse?" Danny glanced at the 3 still twitching on the floor. "Then more of your people are going to find out what human blood tastes like." The leader looked at her fallen soldiers. She looked at her remaining crew, all of them pale and frightened. She looked at the hostages, who were watching with wide eyes as the human they had feared just minutes ago became their protector. Finally, she lowered her weapon. "We're leaving," she spat. "But know this, human, that have long memories, this is not over." "I'll remember that," Danny said. "Now go, before I change my mind and start bleeding on purpose." The pirates gathered their injured and retreated toward the maintenance tunnels they had used to enter. Danny watched them go until the last one disappeared into the darkness. Then he turned to the hostages and knelt beside the paralyzed elderly alien. "It's okay," he said gently. "You're safe now, help is coming." The cargo bay doors burst open, and security teams rushed in. Laura was the first to reach Danny, throwing her arms around him despite the blood still wet on his shoulders and arm. "You're insane," she whispered. "You're absolutely insane." "Maybe," Danny admitted, "but it worked." Behind them, the child had stopped crying. She was looking at Danny with something new in her eyes, not fear, not horror, wonder. The medical team treated Danny's bite wounds while aliens gathered outside the infirmary to watch. The crowd was different now. They still kept their distance, but the fear in their eyes had faded. In its place was something closer to respect. Dr. Pell supervised the treatment personally. He examined the wounds with careful attention, noting how Danny's body was already beginning to heal. "Remarkable," he muttered. "Your immune system is fighting the venom like it's a minor infection. In any other species, these bites would cause paralysis for hours." "It just tingles a little," Danny said, "like when your foot falls asleep." "You compare near-fatal poisoning to a sleeping foot." Dr. Pell shook his head. "Humans are truly extraordinary." Laura sat beside Danny, holding his hand. She hadn't let go since the cargo bay. "What happens now?" she asked. "Are they still going to keep him in quarantine?" Commander appeared in the doorway. Her expression was hard to read, but some of the coldness from before had melted away. "That decision is no longer mine to make. News of today's events has already spread through the communication networks. The Galactic Council has taken an interest." "The Council?" Senna straightened up. "How soon?" "They've called an emergency session for 3 weeks from now. They want Dr. Pell to present his findings, and they want representatives from humanity to explain themselves." Senna nodded. "I'll contact Earth immediately. We need to prepare a proper response." The next 3 weeks passed in a blur. Danny and Laura were no longer confined, but they couldn't leave the station either. Instead, they found themselves at the center of a media storm. News outlets from across the galaxy ran stories about the toxic human who had defeated pirates with nothing but his blood. Some portrayed Danny as a hero. Others warned that humans were a threat to galactic safety. Most just seemed confused. Dr. Pell worked around the clock, gathering data and preparing his presentation. He tested other humans on the station, volunteers from Senna's diplomatic staff, and confirmed that Danny's blood chemistry was normal for his species. All humans carried the same toxic compounds. All of them were walking chemical weapons who had never known it. When the day of the council meeting arrived, Danny and Laura traveled with Senna to the central station where the Galactic Council met. The building was massive, a floating sphere of glass and metal that housed representatives from over 200 species. Danny had never felt so small in his life. The council chamber was arranged in a circle, with thousands of seats rising in tiers around a central platform. Every seat was filled with aliens of every shape and size imaginable. In the center stood a podium where speakers would address the assembly. Dr. Pell presented his findings first. He showed data, charts, and chemical analyses. He explained how human biology had evolved on a death world and how the compounds that were toxic to other species were harmless, even beneficial to humans. The council listened in silence, but Danny could feel the tension in the room. Then a representative from the Confederacy stood up. He was a creature made of what looked like living stone, and his voice echoed through the chamber. "You have shown us that humans are dangerous. What guarantee do we have that they will not use this against us?" Senna rose to respond. She walked to the podium with calm confidence, her diplomat's training keeping her voice steady. "For 40 years, humans have lived and worked alongside your species. We have traded with you. We have shared meals with you, even though we now know that could have been dangerous. We have built friendships and partnerships across the galaxy." She paused and looked around the chamber. In all that time, has a human ever intentionally used their biology to harm another species? Silence, no one answered. We didn't know we were toxic, Senna continued. We didn't evolve this way to hurt anyone. We evolved this way to survive. And now that we know the truth, we're committed to working with you to ensure everyone's safety. We will update food guidelines. We will improve medical protocols. We will do whatever it takes to be good partners in this galaxy. The stone representative remained standing. And what of the incident on station, the human who poisoned pirates with his blood? Danny felt every eye in the chamber turn to him. He wanted to shrink into his seat, but Laura squeezed his hand and gave him a small nod. He stood up. I didn't want to hurt anyone, Danny said. His voice was rough with nerves, but he forced himself to keep going. Those pirates had children as hostages, kids who were scared and crying. I did what I had to do to save them. If my blood is dangerous, then at least it was dangerous to the right people. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Not all of them sounded hostile. The stood from his seat in the traders section. I have dealt with humans for 15 years. They nearly killed me with chocolate once, but they are honest, reliable, and brave. This human walked into a room full of armed pirates with nothing but his own body. He risked his life for strangers. Is that the behavior of a threat, or is that the behavior of an ally? The murmurs grew louder. More aliens began to speak, some in favor of humans, some against. The debate continued for hours. Danny listened to arguments he never imagined he would hear. Some called humans monsters, others called them heroes. Most fell somewhere in between. Finally, the council leader, an ancient being who looked like a tree with eyes, called for a vote. The question was simple. Should humanity be restricted from galactic society due to their biological threat? The votes came in from 200 species. Danny held his breath. The result appeared on a massive screen above the chamber. 73% voted to allow humans to remain with full rights. 20% voted for restrictions. 7% abstained. Humanity had won. The council leader spoke in a slow, creaking voice. Humans will be granted a new classification in our records. They will be known as a cooperative apex species. This means they are recognized as potentially dangerous, but also recognized as willing partners in peace. Medical protocols will be updated. Warning labels will be added to human food products, but humans will remain welcome in galactic society. Danny let out a breath he didn't know he had been holding. Laura hugged him tightly, and around them, alien voices rose in discussion and debate. Not everyone was happy with the decision, but it was done. 2 weeks later, Danny and Laura finally completed their cargo run. Their ship docked at the original destination, and they delivered the machine parts they had been carrying for over a month. The payment was good, even better than expected. Word had spread about Danny's actions, and suddenly everyone wanted to do business with the human cargo haulers. As they sat in the ship's small kitchen that evening, Laura cooked dinner while Danny reviewed their next job offer. She placed a cup of coffee in front of him, and he took a long sip. "Does it feel different?" she asked, "knowing what you know now?" Danny looked at the dark liquid in his cup. The same coffee he had drunk every morning for years. The same poison that could stop an alien's heart. "Not really," he admitted. "It's still just coffee." Laura laughed and sat down across from him with her own cup. "The whole galaxy thinks we're walking chemical weapons, and you're still worried about your caffeine intake." "A man has priorities," Danny grinned. "Besides, if being poisonous means we get better trade deals, I'm not complaining." Outside their window, stars stretched across the infinite black of space. Somewhere out there, alien species were reading about humans for the first time, learning about the strange creatures from the death world who drank neurotoxins for breakfast and bled venom. Some of them would be scared, some would be curious, and some, Danny hoped, would see what in Dr. Pell and the council had seen. That being dangerous didn't mean being evil. That strength could be used to protect instead of harm. and that sometimes the most toxic creature in the room was also the one most willing to stand up for others. Danny raised his coffee cup in a silent toast to the galaxy. Then he took another sip and started planning their next adventure.